everyone. My name is Robert Riddahall. I'm a technical audio specialist with the Advanced Technology Group at Xbox. And in this session, we're going to talk about using the Microsoft 3D Spatial Sound platform to bring better storytelling and more immersive experiences through our audio content. So here's our agenda. We'll first talk about why spatial sound is important. Then I'll go into the spatial landscape, what kinds of places that your game might be played on, and then we'll look at some content ideas and how you can use the spatial sound platform to really enhance the audio in your game. So why spatial audio? Well, traditional audio, whether it be 2D speakers off of a TV or even a 7.1 home theater system, it's just a flat experience. What the spatial audio brings to games is this ability to give us the illusion that sounds are truly coming from positions in 3D space. It helps us tell our stories more effectively, gives a deeper sense of immersion in the game, a wider field of awareness of the world around you through the audio. You know, with visuals, you just have that frustum right in front of you. But with audio, we can represent the world all around you. It helps to anchor and give persistence to objects that maybe you don't even see. And then almost maybe even more importantly is spatial sound really helps with accessibility. For our gamers without sight, we can give pinpoint information about where the sound is in the world and helps paint the world for those that cannot actually see the world. So let's take a look at and talk about the different ways that spatial sound can be expressed and used by a user. First is spatial home theater. This is pretty straightforward. You know, we're all used to maybe your stereo speakers or a 7.1 home theater system. What spatial home theater is like is that we now have the technologies to make it sound like sounds coming from above you, most commonly by projecting sound from upward firing speakers to reflect off of your ceiling and down to your ears. But more ubiquitously is playing back spatial sound over headphones. You know, with two ears, we locate sounds in a fully three-dimensional world. You know, whether that's left or right, directionally, front to back, whether the sound's above you or below you, and you know how far away a sound is. And there's a lot of factors that go into how we hear the world. You know, with our ears, the shape of the pinna on our ears, the shape of our head, sounds come to our ears, they bounce off our shoulders, they move around our heads, and that's how we localize and understand sounds in the world. With spatial rendering, we do this through what's called head relative transform function, or HRTF. This is basically processing that allows us to simulate how sounds reach your ears. If I have a sound that's, say, above and behind me, maybe also to the right, that sound's going to reach my right ear first, filter around my head, and reach my left ear slightly later. So we're able to process that sound and basically give you that external feeling of what sounds are like in the real world. So now we've talked about why spatial sound can be important, how users might listen to your spatial sound. Let's really dig into how spatial can enhance the audio in your games. So We're going to play a bunch of different examples for you. I'm going to play them first rendered in stereo, what I call directly to your ears, and then we'll compare it to spatially rendered. So make sure that you're listening to this over headphones. And to start, we're going to cleanse our palette, as it were. I'm going to play a channel identification clip that will play like left, right, center. And we'll first play it in stereo and then spatially render it. So what you'll be hearing is those virtual speakers rendered over headphones to where those locations of those speakers would normally be. First, in stereo.
Left, right, center. Left side surround, right side surround, left surround, right surround. Height left front, height right front, height left surround, height right surround.
And now, spatially rendered.
Left, right, center. Left side surround, right side surround, left surround, right surround. Height left front, height right front, height left surround, height right surround.
So hopefully you got a good idea of the differences there between the sounds directly to your ears and how we are virtually rendering those speaker locations. So let's get into some content here. We're going to first talk about how spatial sound brings just pure immersion for the user, how it can put sound all around you and really put you into the space that you are experiencing in your game just through the audio. So let's play a little rainstorm for you. First in stereo. Now, spatially rendered. So you can see and hear how really immersive rendering in spatial is. You know, you heard the thunder above you, raindrops all around you. It really just puts you into the world, into the space. So one of the things that we do with games is we tell stories, right? And part of how we tell our stories is through the music. You know, you might have themes that are associated with characters, or you use the mood of the music to set the feel for the story that you're trying to tell. So generally, music is relegated to those left and right front speakers. And we're all used to listening to music over headphones that is directly into our ears. But with the spatial sound playback, we aren't relegated to having our music play just left and right. We can put the music into the space. So in this example, I'm going to take a part of the music, in this case a cello theme, and imagine this being associated with a character in the game and move this around in space that might be associated with where the character is in the world. So let's take a listen to this. First, in stereo. And now to spatially rendered. So you can tell you can really open up the music and move parts of it through space like that. Another technique that you could use is, say, take your music, start it off in the more traditional sense of left and right, but then as you build energy to a peak, bring that music in and around the player, immerse them in that music. And that's what spatial gives us the ability to do. So now let's talk about gameplay. Spatial rendering gives us this ability to give pinpoint accuracy around where sounds are in the world. You know, I can render a sound that's above and to the right rather than hearing it just into my right ear. So it gives us a sense of, much better sense of where sounds are in the world. So in this clip, we're going to play a little game of Where's the Night Creature? Let's play that. First, in stereo. Now spatial. Stereo. And back to spatial. So, could you tell? The creature was actually up in the trees and not just on the ground around me. And with the spatial rendering, I could tell exactly where that creature was at. So it gives us a much better ability to really understand important cues in the game, make you be a better gamer. So now let's talk about spectacle. This is that idea of a moment in the game that just you want to knock the player's socks off, as it were. You want to emphasize a really important moment or just scare the player. Spatial gives us the ability to do this more effectively. So in this case, let's see how it sounds when we're out in a field at night and a UFO comes flying over our heads. Starting in stereo. Now to spatial. Back to stereo. And finally, once again, back to spatial. So you get the idea. We're able to really use the spatial rendering, the space that is available to us, to just really emphasize an event like that in the game. It helps us just give you a much better sense of the world again. That UFO didn't go from one ear to the other. It went over my head and made me kind of duck when I did that. So finally, I want to talk about how spatial rendering just gives us a lot more room in our mix and space to play with. So we're especially over headphones. We tend to get all this sound in our games that is mixed and crunched down to two speakers, and we actually many times will make modifications to our mix to adjust the dynamics of the mix to play better over that stereo space where you don't have much room. With spatial, whether it be over headphones or in a full 714 home theater system, you now have a lot more space, more speakers that you're sending audio to. So the energy is more widely distributed. It gives this ability to play back even more sound, give better clarity to things like voices. Now rather than the voice coming sort of in my head through the center channel, it's now sort of out and in front of me. Or if I want to take advantage of spatial positioning, I can place those voices, and they're not taking up so much space. So in this example, I've got a full mix of just basically a little audio story. And we'll play this back. We'll start off in stereo, and at some point, I will move it to spatial rendering. See if you can tell when that happens, and listen to the details that are in this clip, where they're located, and how well and clear you can hear those sounds. So let's play this. Starting in stereo.
You volunteered because you're tired, or thirsty, or bored. I don't much care why. Maybe you have family. Surface temperatures are rising so much we're shriveling up topside.
That's 101, Professor.
What's that? You have something to say here?
No, ma'am.
We're all dying. And you're not a soldier, a scientist, or a savior. You are fuel for this machine. That's all. You're not special. You took one class. You'll do one job down there. But if you put your heart and soul into it, you might buy us all some time to fix this mess we're in.
No pressure.
It will get colder until level -10 or 12.
Great, forgot a jacket.
Then it will get warmer until level 23.
Okay.
Where it will be hot as hell and you'll get to work.
Oh, crap.
We know who you really are, Joanna.
Oh, that changes things.
So hopefully you're able to hear that and really get a better picture when it was spatially rendered of where each of those individual sounds were. The floor movement of the elevator, the beeps that were happening, the voice of the commander as she was walking around, and you as the player characters, your reaction voices. All of these things just became a little bit more clear. The reverberation wasn't getting, muddying up as much, and so we've opened up the mix. We've made it, given you a lot more clarity to the sounds within your game, and taken advantage of that spatial rendering to give us just a much better experience through our audio. So we talked about the spatial sound platform, why it's important, where spatial rendering is going to happen, and shown you a bunch of examples of the content and how you can really take advantage of the spatial sound platform to help enhance your immersion, your gameplay, give you better clarity in your mixes. And so now, where can you experience spatial sound? Microsoft has a number of samples and a bunch of documentation. We also have our rendering partners on the platform in Dolby and DTS. They have apps that you can try out. They have developer resources, and really take a look at how you might want to, as a game developer, use spatial sound to enhance the audio for your game. I also recommend taking attending the next gen immersive audio session that we will have here at GameStack Live. In that session, we'll go into a lot more detail on the spatial sound platform itself. So thank you for attending this session. I hope that you were able to get some good ideas about how you can take the audio content in your game to just bring more immersion, better storytelling, and just a better experience for your gamers and the audio that is in your games. Thank you very much.